Lebanon, a country in the Middle East, once had a majority Christian population. It was a rugged strip of land around the Mediterranean, where the ancient people of Canaan first settled, and where 2,000 years ago, the faith of Christ took root. For centuries, Mount Lebanon served as a sanctuary for many Maronite Christians, especially those fleeing persecution from Syria and other neighboring Islamic countries. These Christians built monasteries that signified their culture, which defined their Christian way of life. After the Ottoman conquest, these little country in the Levant became something rare in the Arab world. It was a place where Christians weren't just tolerated, but held the balance of power, which was not common in a land surrounded by Muslim countries. In 1920, when Franz carved out a piece of it, and called it Greater Lebanon, the borders were drawn wide, to make the country economically viable. Ports, valleys and coastal cities were added, and with them, came larger Sunni and Shia Muslim communities, which slowly immigrated into the heart of Lebanon. Still, after the 1932 census, which was the last one ever officially taken, showed Christians at over half the population, which meant they were still the majority, despite adding parts of Muslim territories to the country. It was so peaceful, wealthy, and calm. Maronites, Greek Orthodox, Melkites, Armenians, all made up the Christian population in Lebanon. The city was called the Paris of the Middle East for a reason. It had nightclubs, universities, thriving banks, and under a confessional system that gave Christians the presidency, and a guaranteed edge in parliament. Lebanon wasn't perfect, but for a time it felt like a miracle, a Christian plurality haven in a lake of Muslim-majority nations. Then, the numbers began to shift, quietly at first. Muslim families, especially in the rural south, had more children, often because they were overwhelmingly polygamous. Christians were mostly educated, lived in urban areas, and tied to Western countries through schools and remittances. Since they mostly practiced a nuclear family structure, it made them had fewer children. Immigration pushed more Muslims into Lebanon, first in trickles, then in streams. By the early 1970s, demographers knew the balance had tipped. No new census was allowed. The old 1932 numbers were locked in, like a treaty no one dared to cross-check. Tension simmered. And then, in April 1975, it exploded. Total war broke out between the Christian and Muslim Lebanese forces. Islamic militias took up arms, and rebelled against the Christian rulers. The Lebanese Civil War was not a clean clash of armies. It was 15 years of neighbor against neighbor, militia against militia, friends against friends. It was the kind of brutality that still haunts those who lived through it. In the early days, Palestinian leftist Muslim factions turned their guns on Christian neighborhoods. Whole villages were emptied in a single night. The massacre at Damour in 1976 saw hundreds of Christian Maronites slaughtered. Their bodies were left in the streets as a warning. Christian militias retaliated with equal horror. Thousands of Palestinians were killed in Sabra and Shatila, under the watch of Israeli forces, and Lebanese Christian militias. Beirut was sliced in two by a green line, between Christians and Muslims. Bomb shells rained down on hospitals, schools, churches, and whole cities were reduced to rubble. Electricity vanished for years. Families huddled in basements while outside, young men, barely out of their teens, learned to kill with sophisticated guns and car bombs. The war killed over 150,000 people and shattered the country. For the Christians, it became an exodus. They fled in disproportionate numbers, often 70 to 80% of the early waves, leaving everything behind. They packed what they could carry, and left their ancestral villages behind. With pity, most countries opened their doors to assist them. France, bound by old colonial ties, and the French language that still echoed in Christian Maronite communities, took tens of thousands. They arrived in Paris and Marseille, carrying suitcases full of family photos, and little amount of food. Moved by sympathy and compassion, Canada and Australia possessed visas for these Christian refugees. The United States let in waves through family reunification and student visas. Churches in Detroit and Los Angeles quietly sponsored newcomers. Even Brazil, which is currently a home to the world's largest Lebanese diaspora, with up to 10 million souls of Lebanese blood, accommodated more. The sorrow was filled with despair. No one promised them a return ticket. No one really believed the country would end these way. The Christian refugees had nowhere else to go. The pain was felt across the earth. When the fighting finally staggered to a halt in 1990, the country that remained was changed forever. A new agreement was written. These restructured the power-sharing roles. Muslims occupied most of the leadership positions. Christians lost their guaranteed edge as sole rulers. The old majority had now become a minority. Today, perhaps 30 to 40% at most of the population are Christians, a huge drop from about 60% before the war. Most Christians will never return. The villages they left stand half empty or repopulated by others. Their previous family homes are now occupied. Most fled to other countries, where their fate remained uncertain. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell, so you won't miss future uploads. Tell us what you think about Lebanon's transformation in the comment section. Share this video to someone who might need it.